Imagine this. You learn a new word or you look up a new word somewhere and you think, okay, that's cool. I know that now. Then you hear it again and again and again and you forget it and it's not that easy to remember it. You feel bad because you've learnt a new word and you think, in theory, I should know this. I've learnt it. I heard it yesterday or I heard it this morning and I can't remember it now. This is a very common problem for language learners, and in this video I'm going to tell you how you can deal with this and how you can improve your memory and make it easier for your brain to learn new words. I'm James, I'm a native English speaker, puedo hablar español e anche posso parlare italiano. I help people reach a conversational level in a different language. So I'm going to split this video into 3 parts, just to dive deep into the problem. Part number 1. First of all, accept that this is part of the human brain. Don't beat yourself up or get annoyed with yourself because you can't remember a new word. It's natural, and there's reasons behind it because your brain can't remember everything. There's so much information flying into your brain and being absorbed by your eyes and your ears. Your brain has a filtration system which allows it to work out which information to store and is relevant and which to ignore and it doesn't need. Because we only have so much capability of learning the things around us, it would be too overwhelming for our brain to learn everything. So it has to select which ones it's worth putting the effort into, and it's worth allocating resources like energy and calories for your brain to remember certain things if it's not worth it eventually. So this is the first piece of advice. Accept that it's going to happen. It's going to take multiple attempts to remember a new word. But the main thing is, don't get demotivated, because a lot of people, if they struggle to learn a new word or phrase or something and they're getting annoyed with themselves, they might give up and think, nope, that's not for me. I wanted to learn Spanish or Italian, but I can't do it. I can't remember words. My brain just doesn't like to remember things. However, everybody's going through this. It's just not many people say it or notice it. So in this video, I'm going to give you a few techniques on how to make it easier to remember words, but the first thing is to accept that everyone's the same. Your brain is like this, so don't beat yourself up and try to have fun still and not to give up despite the fact that it will take you a few different attempts to learn a new word or phrase. The second point I want to cover is try and feel the word that you hear. So when it comes to language learning, our emotional side of our brains is what's responsible for remembering new words, and that's how we get fluent, because your emotions can act and understand things quicker than your logical side of your brain. Logic is good for grammar and understanding patterns of a language, but then when it comes to being fluent and thinking quickly without having to translate in your head, it's the emotional side of our brain that helps us with that. That's why in your native language you don't have to translate anything, because it's built in emotionally from when we were a baby. So for example, if you were a baby and you learnt the word for hot, you can feel the heat around you. You can sort of feel that in an emotional sense. And that's how it's quicker than having to use our brain, because you can feel the meaning of the word. So let's bring it back to the point of this video. If I hear a new word and it's, for example, car, and I hear that in Romanian or a different language completely different to my native language, the first thing I can do is imagine what that feels like. When I hear the word car, I might be able to see a picture of my own car if I own one, or I might be able to see a picture of a car that I like in my mind. So I'm visualizing what the car looks like, what it feels like. I might have driven a car before, or I might be used to driving a car, so I feel what that's like when someone says the word for it is this. So if you have a feel for that, then that will help your brain think, right, this is important, because it generates a feeling within my mind. I find it useful because there is an emotional attachment to that word, and that is how we help our brains highlight this word as being important, so it takes less attempts to solidify the meaning of that word. You might relate to this if you've been on holiday, for example, in a different country. You might have heard someone shout a certain word, or you might have looked up something to ask a waiter or waitress or staff member, and you're like, okay, perfect. You might have looked up how to say, can I have the bill, please? And you look it up, you say it, and then they're like, okay, that's cool. You're understood, and you know it works. At that point, you feel good about yourself. You feel excited. It's really good. So there are high emotions in your mind for that word or phrase. Similarly, if you hear someone shouting something, it's like, wow, there's something important. There's something I don't want to miss going on over there. And then that solidifies it because there's emotional attachment. It has meaning in your mind, essentially. And that will help you remember. You'll be able to look back now and think about any occasions on holiday where you looked up a word or you heard someone say something or it meant something to you. You will remember that now, even many years later. So you can use that whenever you hear new words or phrases and really feel the meaning of it. So the third point I want to make is try and hear the word in different contexts. If you hear it in one context, for example, you're speaking with a friend who speaks a different language and they're teaching you a new word. You hear it and that's one context, that's the first context. Then you go to a restaurant and you hear someone say it there. Doesn't matter what the word is, but if it's used on a daily basis, it's very common in daily use, then you'll hear it quite often, even possibly in the same conversation between two people. Then that increases the chance of you hearing that word again in different contexts. So why is this important? Well, if we learn a new word, for example, a connective word, we want to be able to also use it, so be able to say it and generate it ourselves to when speaking with a native speaker. The issue we come across is we're not sure how to use it in the sentence we want to use it for. So we hear a new word, but we're like, some words are nouns, they're things like table or car. That's easy, like I have a table or I have a car. But if it's like a connective words or like despite, however, although, things like that, I personally find them difficult to integrate into my when I generate words and I'm speaking unless I know how to use them. And if I hear them multiple different times in different contexts, I'm speaking with different people, or I hear it in different films or TV shows, then it makes it easier for me to go, so it's used there and also can be used there as well. And in addition to this, you can see how the grammar is structured if you want to look into that. You can see what words are surrounding it and what the sentence structure should look like with that word in it. So that's it. I wanted to clarify that if you're beating yourself up or you're annoyed with yourself for not being able to understand many words, you're not broken. Your brain is capable of learning a different language, and don't let it demotivate you from continuing your journey. That is the main thing. That's the main risk of this problem, that if you feel like you can't remember a word properly or a phrase, you're tempted to give up because you're just not getting anywhere. But the truth is, everyone has that. Even in your native language, when learning a new word, you still have to repeat yourself to it and use it yourself in your daily conversations. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave a comment below as to any words that you found difficult to learn and any words that you're still quite not understanding now. Maybe someone is listening to this video and someone is native in language you're learning and can help you out. So feel free to leave a comment to ask for advice on this channel. If you found this valuable, please give it a like, and if you like this sort of content, feel free to subscribe. Thanks and see you later.